Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Joe Davis, Southern Hampshire University CJ 300. Module 5, we're going to talk about the small group discussion. Okay, here are my tips to you, my suggestions, my encouragements, my pleadings. If you've struggled with the previous assignments, this is where it's all going to begin to catch up with you and you won't be able to get out of the hole. Okay, so now is the time to go back and review my comments and make any necessary revisions to your prior assignments. You may resubmit those revised assignments without late grade penalty, but only until this Sunday night, 11:59 p.m. your time zone. In other words, the end of module or week 5. After this week, or after the end of module 5, I won't accept revised and resubmitted papers for 1-2, 2-1, 3-1, or 4-1. Okay, so that's the time that you have to get it submitted and get caught up. You need not only to improve your grades, but you need it because you need the material revised to continue on to get a passing grade in the class. Okay, next up, let's take a look at the guidelines and rubric for the small group discussion, Module 5. Okay. We'll start out here just where it talks about the prompt. You're going to work individually to develop a research question that is appropriate for the study of contemporary issues you selected in Module 2 small group discussion. Now, I'm going to offer you a slight change here. You're welcome to do that, but I think it would be easier and certainly more meaningful if rather than use the Module 2 small group discussion, you use the issue that you're using for your paper. Okay, that you go back and whatever you wrote about in 4-1, your literature analysis, will be much easier to write this question. Okay, so you're going to respond individually to the research question from somebody else. So it's a group discussion again, you're familiar with that, except in your small groups. You're going to write your research question and post it, and then you're going to have to answer back about someone else's research question with constructive, helpful feedback. Okay, and I'm going to show you 5 steps on how to write the question, so it ought to be the feedback, one of those 5 things. Okay, the instructions are you'll work as an individual for this discussion, respond posting someone from the group, you get that. The only change is here where it says using the same contemporary issue you used for Module 2 small group, which you may do, but I think it, as I said, would be easier if you use the one from 4-1 where you submitted your literature analysis. Start with your issue and what you've learned in your literature analysis. These are the steps we're at here. Then ask yourself, what more would you like to learn? Translate that into what you would want to find out in the issue into a question. Make sure your question is answerable and is neither too broad nor too narrow in scope. This question must be dialed down to focus on specific elements to make the scope of your research practical. Keep refining the question to ensure it is focused, and then refer to the other resources that are available. We'll walk through these 5 steps with a sample question. Then down here, when is this due? It's due by Thursday night at 11:59 is your initial post. Okay? Then by Sunday night at 11:59 your follow-up, your reply post. So it's back in the time format of the traditional discussion question. Okay, let's see if we can get to page 2 here, maybe with a little bit of luck. There we go. The research question, just looking at the needs improvement, which is a B, it's an 85%, develops a research question that is unrelated to the issues and or does not use the required format. So that would be where you didn't get a good grade. Submits the post a day late, provides somewhat relevant feedback in response. Let's go over here and look at where you want to get 100% for. Provides a research question that is well related to the issue, is answerable and neither too broad nor too narrow, and refers to the population to be studied. You submitted it on time, and it is relevant and meaningful responses to your peers. Okay, that's the basic rubric and guideline. Okay, let's take a look at those steps as I mentioned. Where did I get this information? This is straight out of the Module 5 overview. So now you've seen it in the guidelines and rubric. It's numbered out in the overview for this chapter. It's only 2 pages. Okay, and you're going to see it again in this presentation. So you should be able to find it. You should be able to get a pretty good grasp. The first one is start with your issue and what you learned from the literature analysis. And as I said, assignment 4-1 milestone 3 should be literature analysis. And what you're going to come up with as an example is, and I'm trying to use the same example about domestic violence and the impact on children of the ages of 4 to 7 all through these examples, so there's a flow like your paper. So the example for this would be the impact of witnessing violent crimes as a child. That's the basic issue. Now, we're going to refine it, of course. All right, so now ask yourself what more you and others would like to know about this issue. Okay, so we're going to add some more information to it. We want to know all of the effects of exposure to violence on a child's psyche. Third step, we're going to translate what you want to find out about the issue into a question. Are children who are exposed to violence during their formative years more likely to have behavioral problems than children not exposed to violence? Now the problem with that is we have to make sure the fourth step that it's answerable, and in this case it's definitely answerable, but it may be a bit too broad for our limited research capabilities here. So the question must be dialed down to focus on specific elements to make the scope of research more practical. This is the toughest thing for all of you to do, I understand. I just read one issue that a student sent for help, and they always want to put two things in there. Use and addiction, use and abuse. They're separate topics, so that's what hopefully that helps you here. Okay, so number 5, keep refining the question to ensure that it is focused, encompassing what you and others would like to know for a specific population. Now in the real world we would have perhaps more than one research question. For our assignment we just want to write one really good one. So you're going to come up with an example that says, are children who are exposed to repeat violence during 4 to 7 years of age more likely in the short term to experience a wide variety of social adjustments and emotional difficulties? Now you're going to right away say, well, social adjustments and emotional difficulties. When you look in the literature, they are interchangeable for the most part. Okay, so it's not like drug use and drug abuse. It's social adjustments and emotional difficulties. They externalize the behaviors. Okay, but you'd be just as correct taking one of those out. Okay, that statement, that lengthy sentence there, is your actual post that would be required for your discussion, your small group discussion. Now, as the guidelines say, you want to maybe write a little more about it, but you must have at least that in there. Okay. Submission deadlines again, Thursday at 11:59 p.m. in your time zone. Final post, that's your reply. Sunday night 11:59 in your time zone. I would encourage you as strongly as I can, for the good of all your peers, get your post in as early as you can this week and check back so that you can read the comments and make positive substantive suggestions to your peers based on these steps so they can get the best question. Okay, that's it for this one. I hope it helps you a little bit. Let me know what I can do to help, and keep those cards and letters coming.